Alright, this is the second round of our review. Going to touch upon a lot of different points using the same network. Now, if we wanted to go out to the internet, since our network is filled with, I'll underline them again, all of these addresses which are private addresses, and let's say somewhere here from this Mason City we were going to go out to the cloud, to the internet. At this point we would have to do some network address translation. Network address translation, or NAT. In order to move out into the cloud, we'd have to translate these private addresses into public addresses. Next thing, we're connecting our devices to these switches, and a little review. Remember, a switch works with a MAC address in order to forward the packets, and we get very good throughput with a switch, and the frames move through the switch to the router. Now, if we want to go from one network to another network, we must have a routing device in between there. So in our case here, we go to this router. That router routes us over to this router, which then can route us back to this network. Remember, routers stop broadcast, switches go ahead and forward broadcast. Switches really reduce our collision domains also. Actually, they help us eliminate the problem with collision domains. They reduce the problem with collision domains. They actually allow more throughput compared to a hub. Alright. And we're going to go to the next page. I go back to my original page. Remember again, a router allows us to go to different networks. And you notice up here I had the DCE marked up here. That's where we set the clock rate between those two different networks. The routing between the routers. The routing between the routers would be layer 3. Routing. And moving through the MAC addresses through here, that's all layer 2, data link layer. So if we're going to send a packet from this PC to a PC over, I don't know, just pick one over here. If we're going to send a packet from this PC to this PC, this one will have a source IP from this network and a destination IP over here in this network. Let's say 66 or something. Those would stay the same. This PC would then have a MAC address of the default gateway to get it into this router. This router would take that information off, look at the IP addresses, and we'll show you in a little bit. It would have a route to this PC. It would send it to this router. This router would send it to here, and then here the MAC address puts back on the framing, and then it goes to the switch, and the switch based on the MAC addresses can move it right straight to the PC. So the only place the MAC addresses have any effect are at those two spots. Alright, so I think that's enough review for this one. Alright. In this case, this is where we configured the host name. Done at global configuration, host name, Mason City, exit, and then we did a look at the interfaces. And we see we have an Ethernet interface, a serial interface, and another Ethernet interface. Ethernet we can hook Cat 5 or Cat 6 cable to. You notice they're administratively down and the protocols are down. Then we did a config T, and that allowed us now to configure the device. And then here we indicate interface Ethernet 00, and then we now have config if. The if stands for interface. Now we're in a more specific configuration mode. And we configured it with an IP address and a mask. And if we were to jump back to our other diagram, which I will here at the end, we can see what address. This address then here will become the default gateway. That will become our default gateway for any workstations on that network. I did a Control Z and it moved me out. Then I did a Show IP Interface Brief. And it shows that the interface now has this address, but it's still down because I didn't do the no shutdown. So I had to go into the configuration, into the interface, did a no shutdown. Now it shows that links up. Then I can take and copy, I can copy my configuration. I can copy my configuration to NVRAM by doing a copy running config to the startup config. And I'll show you some examples of that in a little bit. But that gets copied to the NVRAM. So the startup config is in the NVRAM. Alright, so now